We're going to get situated up here. Thank you for your patience. I'm the kind of person who likes to start spiritual spaces with a song. And so I want to teach you a song that I learned while I was doing organizing with other folks. And it's very simple, and I'll sing it one time through, and you can just come in with me as you learn it. Yeah? Consent? Good? Great. No one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind. No one is getting left behind. Nice. No one is getting left behind this time. We get there together or never get there at all. No one is getting left behind this time. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together or never get there at all. Yeah. So let's do it again together, since we're together, right? It's 4 lines. No one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind. No one is getting left behind this time. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together or never get there at all. How are we feeling? Do we feel like we kind of have it? I think if we do it one more time, we're like really together. Yeah? Kind of get our food digested a little bit better, kind of relax us. Huh? It's like a stomp clap. It doesn't have a stomp clap. But if you'd like to, I can put a clap in there. Would you like to know where the beat is? Is that the question? Okay. Here we go. No one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind. No one is getting left behind this time. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together or never get there at all. Nice. Welcome. My name is Antoinette. My pronouns are they and them, and I am the current managing director for the Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry of California. Woo, yeah. Thank you. That just means that I'm a board member and I get to make some programming decisions. So I am here just sort of as a bookend, really, to sort of kick off our Building Homes, Not Walls workshop here with you today. And the next slide, I believe, is our chalice lighting. I think it's the next slide. Next slide, please.
I'm told that the next slide was when Douglas comes up. Let me get Jack.
Oh, I don't know.
Did you have some slides? I had.
Call that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Chalice lighting. I added a chalice lighting and extinguishing at the front end. So then you can click it to the next one and we'll just read it out loud. This way, when you put it on the slides, you don't have to learn it. The spark of love. The spark of love, I'm going to invite one person to come up and actually light it for me. This spark of love resides in us all. We are free to act from it or not. If we choose love, how will love shape what we do? If we choose love, how will it improve our actions? If we choose love, how will I treat those around me? If I choose love, will I find it when life gets hard? If I choose love, will I find it when life gets hard? If I choose love, will you also choose love? Love begets love, and it is love that lights our chalice. How many folks are familiar with UUJMCA for short? A couple of folks, yeah. We've been around for quite a bit, and we are the State Action Network of California. Across the United States, there are about 20 state action networks. Collectively, we are called QSAN, the Coalition of State Action Networks. And our state action network is the UU Justice Ministry of California. We connect with organizers and activists all across the state of California, and our 4 priority issues are climate justice, reproductive justice, queer rights, and immigrant rights. And so when we do organizing and programming, it is around those 4 priorities. A couple of years ago, I think we also sort of integrated in racial justice work, democracy, and there's one other that my brain has lost, but it's a undercurrent of how we do our work together. This House bill that we're going to talk about today is a small piece of how we put into the world the work that UUJMCA is honored to do. So now I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm going to let Douglas come on up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Douglas Pillsbury from UU This makes it work. Is that working now? Yep. And Zane, we can just stay on this slide for a while until I tell you next slide, okay? So we've gone down to UUs around Southern California and up to San Luis Obispo, actually up to Walnut Creek and Berkeley too, have gone down a couple of times in the last 2 years to build houses in Tijuana. And I wanted to share with you what it was like to build a house. And these slides that we have will help share some of our really special experiences down there. 2 years ago, a group of us responded to the call from the UU Justice Ministry of California. Justice Ministry was partnering with Casas de Luz, or Houses of Light, to build a small home in Tijuana. This meant 2 things for congregations. One was to help raise money for the cost of the materials and also for lodging while we were in Tijuana. And 2, to gather enough people to actually help a family build their house. And so we were told by Casas de Luz director, Kathy Fowler, whom you see in the left slide, that we would work alongside the family that would move into the house once we finished. And a little bit about Kathy Fowler. Many of you heard her husband, Tom, talk about facilities up at, sorry? Chris Fowler, who is up at Camp de Banneville. Well, actually, his wife, Kathy, has been building homes in Tijuana and San Diego for the last 20 years. And in fact, they have built 200 homes in the last 20 years. So this year, 200 homes. She's a UU, she's a master carpenter, and she started this organization in 2005. And even though it got its start with the UU Fellowship of San Dieguito, it became its own entity, its own 501c3 soon after. And 2 years ago was the first time that a UU group had actually participated in a long time in building a home with her. So in the second photo that you see, she's standing there with a couple other master carpenters at the beginning of our first home build in 2023. Okay, now we can go to slide 3, the next slide. First, we had to raise a fair amount of money. And so we put the word out. We had to raise about $12,000 the first year. I think for this coming October, we'll probably have to raise about $14,000. But $12,000 2 years ago. We put the word out. People gave generously. We decided to have a fundraising bake sale. We raised $1,300 just from the bake sale. And we actually, the second year, we actually had a raffle for a custom-made cake, and that brought in a couple, $300 just from the raffle. I mention that in case you are similarly inspired. So the group from last year came from Walnut Creek, Berkeley, San Luis Obispo, Thousand Oaks, Ventura, and Los Angeles. And we all journeyed down here to the parking lot and then went over to the border. So the next slide, a few more UUs and friends met us there, and we headed for the border, and there we are crossing through. And the next slide, this is the orphanage that we stayed at, actually. The man who built this building some years ago dedicated the 5th floor to people who came to Tijuana to build homes, to build houses. So it was all available for us. There were cots and sleeping bags and blankets and all kinds of things. And that's where we stayed for 3 nights. Next time, the first evening I looked out from the top of the building and I saw the lights of Tijuana. And in the distance, across the wall, was the city lights of San Diego. And the next slide, Tijuana. Tijuana is a metropolis of about 2 million people. There's a growing middle class here, but also you see the harsh reality of poverty everywhere. It's common to see homes like these, made with pallets and other scraps and materials available, with dirt floors, no electricity, no plumbing. So the first morning when we arrived on site, there were already some master carpenters busy at work when we arrived. The master carpenters live in Tijuana. They're Mexican, and they are employed to help guide us through the home builds. Because a lot of us don't have any particular carpenter skills, they guide us through the process. They clearly care about the houses that they build. They're a wonderful, enthusiastic group of people. Since most of us were not skilled carpenters, we were quickly put to work at jobs that we could do, such as pounding nails and painting the walls. And because, let me tell you about the soon-to-be owner of the house, Lorena Munoz. She was the widowed mother of 4 children who were fast growing up. They all had wonderful aspirations. One was about ready to go into the University of Tijuana to study law. Another one wanted to be an astronomer. Another one wanted to be a psychotherapist. I mean, they were really motivated kids. They were doing something really special in that family. Anyway, she requested that her house be painted pink. So we painted her house pink. It was pretty delightful. And here's a wall going up in the house. And you can see we had a cement slab to start, and then there's the walls going up, literally by person power. And the next slide, there we are. We got it up and nailed into place. And the next slide, and there we are on the roof. And the trusses are going in, and then pretty soon there would be roofing paper, and it's amazing. It took about a day and a half to build this house. And there it is, and now it's getting painted pink on the side. There's some of her kids helping to paint. And the next slide. Okay, I think maybe this is going into your slide. Is that right? Okay, so let me tell you, before I end my part, how I happened to be in Tijuana building this house. I actually had to work very hard to convince myself to do this. Because, we're so focused sometimes on how do we change the systems? How do we change society? And so it's hard to get down to the nitty-gritty sometimes of just helping one person or one family. And when millions of people are living in poverty, it just seems so minuscule to do something for just like build one little house. But when we finally started building alongside the family that would be living there, it became much more real for me, more important. The family jumped in with such eagerness and pride. You could see their amazement when all the strangers showed up and jumped in and started building. Carlos, the 17-year-old son who's going to the University of Tijuana, said to one of us, "Es que no puedo creerlo." I can't believe this is happening. So having their own first home, what a huge life-changing experience it was for that family. And that's what really convinced me that it's been worthwhile to go back, do it a second time, and this year to do it a third time for another family. So thank you. And Betty, you're on. Oh, Jan.
Thank you, Douglas. Yeah, I'm Jan. I'm also from UU San Luis Obispo, and I'm also on the Immigrant Justice Action Team for UUJM, and I have been a long time, maybe back 2010 or 2011, back when it was called the UU Legislative Ministry of California, when now we're about more than just legislation, but we're still about changing the system, which is one reason that I stay with it so much, and the justice aspects. And I just love UUJM because of all the connections I've made with Californians around the state. Because we have unique immigration problems to other states, but even parts of our state. And so just connecting and sharing with each other is really important, I think, especially now at this awful time. So I'm still on the IJAT, we call it, Immigrant Justice Action Team. Have any of you, looking around, I don't see anybody who has been on one of our other justice trips. Because our justice trips started in 2013, actually, and they were not about building homes, but they were about witnessing what's going on the border. And the border is San Diego, and we're in the border area right now. Lots of stuff going on here, and, well, there is everywhere, and Tijuana. And so we would always visit shelters. We visited deported veterans, and we found ways to get connected with immigrant justice. And then we talked about it each night. We had curriculum. We learned about the history of immigration a little bit, a lot of things. And then we come back and hopefully find things in our own congregations to get more involved with and to become passionate with, and a lot of folks did. So we've had maybe, I don't know, Betty's been on some. We probably had 8 or 9 of these trips over the years. And we found that it was hard to find people to go on these, and we got this idea of doing a home build just to get more physical and connected, and that's why we started this. We are going to do, hopefully, another justice trip next year, which we'll get, so it's a little different, but stay tuned. And I also wanted to mention Chris Fowler again. We saw this morning, if you were a delegate for Camp de Benneville, you saw Chris, who's the facilities person, and some of the pictures look similar. They were laying wood on the ground and getting ready to build things, and they're always looking for volunteers there. And I think I want to go to one of those volunteer for building there. It's really similar, and his wife Kathy is the one who leads all of these Casas de Luz trips, so it's interesting. The first time that I met Kathy was on one of our justice trips down there, and Mar Cardenas, who some of you might know, who was a member at UU in Santee. I don't think she is anymore, but she took us to down Cañón Carretas, where they're, a place that a lot of people don't want to live because it floods a lot in the spring. But there was a couple of houses that Kathy and Chris had been part of building. And so we met Kathy. She just talked about all the things they do. That's where I first met her, and this was a long time ago, and she's amazing. And so hopefully, one reason we're here is to recruit some of you to go on our next trip in October, or to bring people from your congregation and just to get in touch about all this, or even to donate to our cause, because we raise money for all the building supplies. So with that in mind, this picture, Kathy put me in charge of the paint crew, so that's me on the left, and that is Reverend Betty and Diana Kubelos from UU Ventura. Some of you may know her. And I really am painting there. It's a long plank. This was toward the end of our first day. Again, we did this whole thing in 1.5 days. That's how they do it. They don't have the regulations like we have in the United States. And they have it planned so well, and these amazing carpenters who are all Mexican, who Kathy's gotten relationships with over the years, and it goes up fast, and it's really good quality. So it's amazing how much we got done, and it helped to have a wonderful home-cooked lunch delivered to us. And then that helped us get to know each other and also the family we were building with. And we had the best tamales I've ever had. Do you agree? Some of them were really good. Of course, we took a nice break to sit together, and the woman up on the roof there is one of the master carpenters. She's actually the daughter of the first master carpenter, and their whole family has become carpenters, and it's amazing the way they just get us all involved, and we find tasks for us all to do. We didn't have any children on this trip, but our second one we did. We had I think it was 8 years old. But anyway, children are welcome too, as long as they're chaperoned by their parents. So, next slide. There's Douglas holding the already made window, and Mark Chase from Mount Diablo UU Church in Walnut Creek. Next. Here we're putting final touches on the roof, and you can see some of the beauty that is Tijuana, all the beautiful hills and canyons and flowers. It's really a beautiful place. Lots of colorful homes, lots of color. Once we got the frames all painted, we set to sawing them for trimming the house. You see the trim on the house? Casas de Luz has their own trademark trim that they do. And Douglas sawed several. There, Douglas is sawing right here. Here's Antoinette and Jolly painting one of the bedrooms. Where am I? And here's most of the Munoz family. Esperanza, Carlos, Lorena, who's the mother, who asked for the pink house, and Alexa. Missing are Nihela, her husband, and the baby. Beautiful. Here, Carlos, he's the guy who has ambition to become an attorney, and Jolly are putting together a bunk bed for the teenage girls. This really became a home when we were all finished. It wasn't just a house. It was furnished with toys for the baby, couches and chairs, bedspreads, wall hangings, and curtains. And we even were able to go and shop for some food and diapers later on because we did. This is one thing I love about Casas de Luz. They're UU-oriented, and UU San Diego is where Kathy and Chris are members. And because of that, we bring our UU values into this, and it just made it all the more special. I went on a couple of house builds when my daughter was young. I lived in San Diego, and it was just a little different feeling. It was still wonderful, but they were led by these Christian missionary groups, and I just love now that I found a UU group that does this. So anyway, it was very special. I don't know if they make them into homes as much. They maybe do. Okay, on this slide is our friend Johnny Rodriguez. He helped us finish the bunk bed. Johnny was deported in 2011. He grew up in Stockton. He has an amazing story. And now he and his U.S. citizen wife, Eileen, she's a retired nurse from Cedars-Sinai Hospital. They make their thriving living in La Misión, just south of Tijuana. They've been living in Tijuana, and we always meet with them every time we've done our justice trips. They're the most amazing couple, and they're always with us. What they do now, they volunteer at a lot of orphanages around there and just find ways to get involved. And he plans to be with us in October again. He always loves to be with us when he can. Here we are welcoming the Munoz family into their new home. Kathy's giving them the key, which is part of the ritual ceremony. Nihela's husband was working, but it does show there is Nihela and her baby in there too. You see the whole family. And Flaco is also welcoming them. He's one of the master carpenters. So here's their home. And here is our whole crew, including a couple of Casas de Luz volunteers who came down from San Diego for the day. So we all look, like you can tell, we did something all together, and it was good. We all are feeling really good right here. And we look forward to a similar experience in October. And as you can see, the home expanded. See, there was another addition put on after we left. Our friend Johnny sent us this picture about a month later. We had actually raised enough money for this addition, and so they added an addition, and it helps the family more. Here we are having breakfast in the orphanage, so you get an idea what that is like. What a great home away from home. The church who owns the orphanage reserves the 5th floor. I guess Douglas already told you that. In addition to comfortable sleeping arrangements and a kitchen room for reflections, we got to engage with children at certain times of the day. In October, however, we plan to stay at a place called Garimar, which is in Playas de Tijuana. Gary and Mara are the people I mentioned before who were at UU Santee. We're going to stay there, and partly so we can be close to the border wall and Binational Friendship Park for the border church service, and Betty will explain that in a little while. So each time I visit Tijuana, part of my heart remains there. I've made friends, and I've had many memorable times, especially at Friendship Park. I look forward to more in October when we once again venture on our home-build pilgrimage. And we hope you're interested in joining us. Did everybody get a flyer for the October? So please, think about it and share with your congregation. And, if you have any questions, are our emails on there? One of our emails on there? So they can contact us? Okay. Mine is on there? Okay, well, good. And there's and that same link, the UUJM link, it lets you donate also, because we do need to raise probably $12,000 for the materials. And we all, we want everyone to go. Money is not something that is required to go individual money. Some of us can donate who have a little more means. I think that, we might, $500 might be a good amount if you have the means, but if not, we're all raising money. We're going to do these sales in different ways, and so everybody can go if they want to go. I guess that is it. Oh, one more thing. Tomorrow, I am going to be going down to the border for Border Church. Via International is an organization that's been, I guess they're the ones that took this over. But Border Church has been going on for years and years, like I think 2006, right at the border wall, and it's both in Tijuana and it's actually Imperial Beach, right at the border there. And people come up to the wall and they would share communion. It's led by a couple of Episcopal and Methodist ministers. And whenever our border trips went down there, our justice trips, they always they welcome UUs, and we all take part in the communion. And sometimes we always have a chaplain with us, and the chaplain will give a little homily or a prayer. We feel very welcome, and we meet so many wonderful people right there at the border. And so I'm going tomorrow to Border Church. It's changed. Now there are 2 giant walls. We can't really see people through the wall, but we still do it. They still do it you can watch on YouTube every week. Tijuana is the place you want to be because it's very festive. But then on the U.S. side, which is where I'm going to go, you also witness it. There will be a pastor there, and so we're all together. And so if anyone's interested, please see me. Or even if you want to go on YouTube sometime and watch it. Okay, thank you.
Hello. My name is the Reverend Dr. Betty Stapleford, and I had never built a house before. Now, had any of you built a house before? No. Oh, you had? Okay. Well, I am a skilled painter of both houses and myself. I learned on this trip. I have a pair of sneakers that was christened by pink paint. But my major job was as chaplain in 2023 for the trip we made, the first house build trip, and the opportunity to find out what it was like, but not just to build a house, to discover what the spiritual meaning of this was for us. The idea that we could get together and create an environment of possibility for the people in Tijuana. All they had to do, and this was a lot, was provide the land. They had to own the land. And that was sometimes difficult. It sometimes took them a while to qualify because they had to buy the land first. But we wanted to see this not just through a physical experience, but through a spiritual experience. So each night, we got together after our first night when we arrived, and we gathered to light a chalice, to listen to some inspiring words, to sing, and to feel a sense of community and sharing in our shared endeavor. We expressed our hopes, our expectations and learnings about the work and about ourselves, the things we wanted to remember and the things that we wanted to take back and share about putting our love into action for justice, equity, and compassion. And now here's a picture of the double wall. I didn't realize before I went down there the first time that this wall that they talk about all the time is not just a single wall. It's a double wall. So in fact, if you get over one, you've still got another one to go over, and they're everywhere. You can see them as you come close and recognize that their meaning is to divide people from each other, from themselves, and from the world. And that's what it meant to me every time I saw these double walls. The next picture is of the wall at Friendship Park. Now, this is the old wall with murals from years past. I remember one year that we went down and they helped people draw butterflies on the wall. The other side of the wall, the American side of the wall, has no such pictures. But the people there decided to make what was an ugly, ugly edifice into something really special. I'm sorry, this is an emotional experience for me. But you can see that there's a wall beyond the wall. And now, in fact, we look at the wall and see that it's even higher than it was at first. My memory of my first trip to Tijuana in Friendship Park was seeing a man who climbed to the top of that 18-foot wall. And everybody was shouting at him, "Come down, come down." They were afraid he would either fall or he would be shot. So ultimately, he heeded their warnings, and he came down, and we all could breathe a sigh of relief. Here's a wall with the names of deported veterans, people from Mexico who fought in our military and never received any benefits for their service to our country. This picture includes Jan and Javier. He was working down there to build a native garden, trying to make, once again, ugliness into beauty. Unfortunately, it was torn down for no particular reason that anybody ever could explain by the Border Patrol. We look out at the ocean from this point of view, and I'm sorry, but what I see is clouds of despair, because this is not a memorial to anything good. And then we see farther out into the ocean, the wall goes out into the ocean. So if we could have the next slide. And there have, we were told, been a number of people who tried to go out beyond the end of the wall and go over and get over by swimming out, usually unsuccessfully because people came out and got them or shot them, or they were taken by the really turbulent tides out beyond there. And then where could they go? How far could they swim? We were told about the origin of the original wall when First Lady Pat Nixon dedicated it on August 18th of 1971. When the surrounding area in the United States was inaugurated as a California state park, celebrating the first phase of what was envisioned as an international friendship park. Mrs. Nixon declared, "I hope this won't be here too long." That was quite a while ago. The wall then was simply a single wire fence to mark the border between Mexico and the United States. We know that fence later became an 18-foot wall, a metal wall, with, it's hard to describe what they were. They were really strips of iron tilted in one way so you could actually see, if you looked around, see the other side. But now that wall is, and it was doubled. And then later, most recently, it's been made into a 30-foot wall, once again doubled. Why do we need to make it higher? Isn't it high enough already? A way to divide people from each other? What are we afraid of? What are we afraid might get over that wall? And here's Douglas digging a hole to plant a black sage to rebuild the garden that was destroyed by the Border Patrol. In that plant, we see a symbol of growth and hope. But now it's been destroyed once again, and once again it will be rebuilt. We're still fighting and hoping for growth and hope. And here's a picture of the church service that Jan mentioned. Every Sunday on the Mexican side, there are 30 to 40 people, where Pastor Seth is with me, and here I am sitting. I was participating in the service with Pastor Seth and Latino minister Guillermo. We shared with each other in scripture, in music, and prayer to gain strength. But in the shadow of the wall with one service, on the American side, where Jan was talking about yesterday, either on Zoom or in a almost inaccessible area, very far from Friendship Park, and the other on the Mexican side where we were. It was a moving experience with people in multiple languages hoping and wishing for possibilities of once again, as with this first wall, they could actually put their fingers through the places, openings in the wall, and whisper things to each other. Now that's no longer possible because there are Border Patrol trucks going up and back, and the wall is now solid, without any openings. And here we see they're tearing down the wall. But wait, it's the wrong one. They're tearing down the old, shorter one and replace it with a larger one to destroy art and building a taller, stronger wall behind the first and dividing twice again neighbors from each other. With the original walls, they could at least touch hands and whisper words. No longer. Now it's solid and keeps anything from escaping to the other side. The next picture is one of the many heart installations in the area. You see the heart that is three-dimensional with paintings by local artists. This one depicts an American eagle and a Mexican eagle. I had no idea there was such a thing, but there is a Mexican eagle sharing an olive branch of peace with each other. and hope for the future. Maybe it's my imagination, but it seems to me that the American eagle is dominating the Mexican one. But I still have hope, even in the midst of despair, and I will continue to work with others to promote love for the inherent worth and dignity of all beings in all the ways that we can. And I hope you will too. All the people on the stage here have been twice and look forward to going again in October. Not because we think we can change the world, but because we can do something tangible that can make a difference, to give hope for a family that before this had only been able to live in a very limited way. And so thank you for being here today, and thank you for being interested in what effort we can make to make the world a better place because we've been here. Thank you.
Wait, I get to talk too? Swell. Hi, I'm Jolly from First U Los Angeles. Flipping through some of these real quick, these are a couple of well wishes that were written into the walls before we hung up the drywall and painted over them and everything. You're just seeing a couple of process pictures. We were a tenacious group even with the rain on and off. You know, we still got each of these houses up in a day and a half. There are a couple things I think that it's really nice to point out about this. We talked some about the master carpenter that we were working with. He's a really big fan of Casas de Luz, and apparently he's a regular fixture there. And I learned that it's because when he was a child, his family was gifted a home. And you think about the kind of lifelong impact that has. And, you know, something that Douglas had touched on earlier is like, hey, this isn't fixing any systemic problems. Like, why even bother if you're not going to solve poverty, right? But I think it's fair to say that it definitely made a pretty big impact on that man's life. And so much so that he was willing to go on and pass that along to folks every time. Another thing that I really liked about working with Casas de Luz is it's respecting the work of organizers and knowing how you can have a part in this. You know, did everyone here grow up UU? No, I'm getting a lot of shakes. Who didn't grow up UU? That's probably 70% of the room. Okay, I also didn't grow up UU. I was Baptist. And then coming into the UU, I wondered why only Christians had this monopoly on like mission work or like doing good in the world. You know, what a weird thing. You know, why would that be? I think this is a real way to show our values. And the fact that Casas de Luz has been doing this for so long and they've got the formula down pat so that we were able to just kind of plug in was really helpful. You know, we didn't have to worry about where are we staying, where are we building the house, who are we building it for, how are we getting all the supplies, who knows what they're doing. It was great to be able to plug in at kind of an entry-level sort of way. But I think that the impact that we had was really outsized, and so I'm really grateful for the experience. Were there other slides, or oh, this one's La Familia Estrada Rivera. So this is from the house that we did in 2024. Gosh, you know, I remember this was a 4-room house that we set down on the property where previously in this like 2-room house lived three generations of people? Yeah. 3 generations living in a 2-room house that didn't have like central lighting, you know? And then to be able to say to this little boy, like, hey, you get your own room. You know, he gets his own bedroom for the first time ever. It's got a light switch, it's got an outlets, you know, like this is something that will change his life that he's not going to forget easily, I think. Oh, plus it's in Tijuana, so it's just always beautiful in Mexico, isn't it? Okay, Antoinette.
So part of the last part of this is really just to set the stage of, as UUs, we talk a lot about our time, our talent, and our treasure. This trip, these house trips, give you an opportunity to flex any of those possibilities, right? If you can't go or participate, your treasure is greatly appreciated. If you can go, your time and your talent will be put to good use. I also had never built a house before. Before my first trip in 23, had never been to Mexico. I had never left the United States. I had to get a passport to go on this trip. And it was a really big cultural piece for me to be able to see how other folks were living. We didn't know the extent of what we needed when we got there, right? I had never built a house before, didn't know which one of my talents were going to be useful, and they showed us that at every skill level, your talent was appreciated. Being able to put the house up, being able to nail together the frame, being able to fit the frame just into the right pieces, allowed for folks to build on their talent 1 year after the next. The first year I did only painting, the second year I helped put the frame up, right? And so doing this in a long-term way also builds our time and talent with each other. I have made very close friends on this trip that I get to continue to be in community with, because we all met here in San Diego to go on this amazing trip. We became comrades through the course of a couple of years, and now that we're inviting and encouraging more and more folks to join us in this beautiful moment of our UU expression. And so you have a piece of paper that has been floating around. Check out the registration. The thing that we've done, saying that it takes about $12,000 to $14,000, is we've done some scaled pricing, right? So we kind of have what it costs for one person to go, what it costs if you can pay a discounted price, what it costs if you can pay like a low income price, what it costs if you would like to donate even more generously. You'll see that these are sort of options on the registration page when you follow that bit.ly link, so that you can see that it's not just give us the money so that we can go have fun in Tijuana, but it is how can we express our time, our talent, and our treasure together so that we can make a difference in this one family that will reverberate throughout the rest of their lives. So, before we do our chalice extinguishing, are there any questions for us that, yes, let's do the mic. Accessibility.
So you said it takes a day and a half, I guess, around to build a house. How many days is the actual trip? How many days are you in Tijuana? How many days are you traveling and all
So
that
we
stuff?
leave on a Friday afternoon. We meet here, leave on a Friday afternoon, and then we stay until Monday. Previous years, the last 2 years, we've left on a Thursday afternoon and come back on a Sunday evening. I don't know if you've tried to cross the border on a Sunday. Man, does it take a lot of time. We were in line for hours. In line. Yeah, building the house was 1.5 days. So you have the first evening to have dinner together, the second day that you're in Tijuana, the second and third day are the house build days, and then your final day, what had been at the border church. I'm not quite sure what we plan to do besides look at other, probably Friendship Park, and connect with other deported veterans on that Monday.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Things that we said that didn't make sense?
Thank you guys for this beautiful presentation. I have a not fully formed question. Sure. That's why I hesitated. I guess what I'm wondering is the ultimate goal for the trip. Is the goal intercultural exchange and getting a house up, or I guess I'm wondering, like, how is it happening that I'm thinking of efficiency, which is probably not the goal. So yeah, so if you
It's
have
not
like
efficient.
Americans going to Mexico, something can be done much less expensively by Mexicans in Mexico or by Americans for Americans. And so I'm wondering how you conceive of it. Is it a intercultural exchange? And I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that. As you can see, it's a very not fully formed question.
Sure. I don't think that Kathy started this simply because of efficiency. I think it was, as a UU, she saw the disparities between folks living in Mexico and the privileges that she and other folks had here in the States. And I really do think she started this as, what can I do? What can I as one person do? And so as she created this organization, Casa de Luz, it was to continue to educate people, have them have this cultural experience. She has not just us, like we are an organization that partners with her, but she has Girl Scout troops and other colleges, high schools, other groups. So for Casa de Luz, this is an opportunity to every weekend of the year build a house for a Mexican family. We just get one of those weekends. And we have partnered with it because this was an opportunity for us to continue sort of the cultural exchange that we had been doing. The border trips that were happening before kind of fell off during the pandemic. And we were looking for something that we could do in the same vein as that, but also give a little bit of productivity. So it's not so much about efficiency. I think the fact that she can do them in a day and a half is efficient, but it really is, for us at UUJMCA, a way for us to live into our values, to put our hands to work. Because that's a thing that people ask, what can I go do? How can I participate? And after COVID, that was one of the things that we created that allowed people to participate.
Can I have?
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's also about, I lost my train of thought for a second. Transformation, one of our UU values, it's transformed every person that goes. Every time I get transformed a little more in different ways. And to me, it's about transforming other people, kind of why I go to visit detention centers every single month now. And I always bring people, and people get transformed, and then hopefully they talk to their friends and colleagues, and we all get transformed to become kinder and think not just about ourselves. So transformation. Also, I want to correct a little, I'm sorry, it's Casas de Luz. Casa de Luz is an LGBTQ shelter in Tijuana, and there they serve meals every Sunday after Border Church. They serve some from the native garden, and then they make soups, and anybody that wants a lunch, and like Betty said, there's oftentimes 30 people there. So that's Casa de Luz. And so some people get those confused. This is Casas de Luz, is Kathy Fowler's group. Yay.
Excuse me. One thing that we all talked about, but nobody made it specific, and it was incredibly meaningful for me. We gathered at the beginning of the build, and there was a circle of all of us, the other builders, as well as the family, and we shared what our hopes were for this family, verbally, going around the circle. The second thing we did, and they will never see these things now that the house is fully constructed, but before we put on the drywall, between the wood and the inside of the house, we wrote notes of blessing, of whatever we wanted to write, as to bless the house in a physical way. So that even though they were there when we were doing it and reading the notes. And so to be able to know that your house is a blessed place, when many of these families, and as a matter of fact, the house that's being built this weekend, this family had been waiting for 2 years on the list until they could have this done. In the meantime, they're living in houses that are made of whatever they can find, including pallets, whatever is left over that they can pick up, and make houses with wooden floors. And here this family is living with a Granted, it's a concrete floor, but it's not dirt, with a roof over their heads that they don't have to worry about when it rains. And then the third thing that I think was really important that we all did at the end of the build is that we all gathered in a circle again, and each person touched the key that they were going to get to the house, and touched the key and made a blessing for the family, passed it all the way around. And then the mother was given the key. They opened the door for the first time and walked into their home. Now, I would not have picked bright yellow, and it was bright yellow for the inside of this house, but they're going to be living in it. But they walked into their home and closed the door, and we're all out there going, okay, you know, what are we supposed to do now? And then their instructions were ultimately to open the door for all of us to go in and be invited into their home. And for me, that was, I mean, I think the experience that I have to say, and maybe it's just because I'm a minister, but the spiritual impact of that, what we were doing there, it's not just building a home. It's creating an environment where people can thrive. And that, to me, is more important than all the wood and sweat and paint that we put in.
Did we turn it off?
No?
Yes.
Oh, there it goes. Okay. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the work. And I know my husband and I are interested, but we come from Santa Monica, by the way. We're from the Santa Monica Church. I hate to follow up a very spiritual, what the minister just said, with a very technical question. But as I watched the build and everything like that, I was wondering about the electricity. Is there running water? Is there a kitchen? Is there toilets that work? Are there toilets that work? I mean, I can't picture, because from all the pics we saw, I just saw, you know, the bunk beds and the walls and things like that. But I'm very curious, is it truly a functioning home?
It is a functioning home. So in the last two builds that I was a part of, they already had bathrooms. They had a bathroom on their property. Or maybe not the first one. Maybe the first one didn't. The second one did, and we were building an additional spot within their already enclosed property. The electricity we put in. That part of the build in the master builders is teaching folks how to actually wire the electrical to this house. And so they will have lights at the end of the day. Yes. Yes, they have access to water. Yes. Yes, it's not the same infrastructure that we would have here.
I was just curious, technically, how does all that get done?
It is included. So if plumbing is necessary, I think we do the plumbing. I don't remember if we did. I do remember there being electricity so that by the end of the day, they could close that door and they would have lights. They would have, you know, windows. They would have an enclosed, complete structure. Yeah. Because I think there's this, and that's, I think, part of why we do these processes, because there's this misnomer about like how people are living on either sides of the border, right? And so the ability to actually go and meet folks and have conversations with folks and get to know people who are living on the other side of the border is actually a really beautiful experience, so that the question isn't, is this worth doing? Are we making their lives better? Because I'm not quite sure if is it worth it? It's sort of just like a, how do other people live, and how can we grow our like global community of justice? I think that's really the main reason of doing it, is to have these interactions with other folks that are very different than we are. And by very different, I mean just live in a completely different country, but have the same sorts of values. As we didn't talk a lot about Casas de Luz, but Kathy's program is its own complete program. So she's gonna build a house every single weekend, whether we're there or not. And so when she brings people into the program, what it is that, I think we did mention that people have to already own the land. They're on a list. The master builders who work with her organization get to know the families, they get to have conversations with it, they understand each family member. And so when we come into a process that's really at the tail end of the process. We are the worker bees to help get the house up and functioning. And so the more worker bees we have, the easier the process is. The fewer worker bees we have, the longer it takes. It still takes a day and a half, but maybe you finish on Saturday morning versus Saturday evening. That's kind of how it is. So part of it is that we're not asking folks to reinvent the wheel. We're asking folks to be worker bees and to put your hands to good use while we all still can for a family who's next in line. Any other questions?
I just want to encourage you to take those flyers I passed out and take them back to your congregations and think of people that might be interested in this, maybe make copies. Jan Meslin and my contact information is at the bottom of the flyer. And please feel free to contact us and about more details, just like the process we went through to raise support in our congregation and the kinds of things we did. I mean, one thing we did was we had a whole worship service one time, which really turned out to be a powerful experience. And there's also the link to UU Justice Ministry, and that is in case you want to come and register, and then also to donate, because we will need money. But we're the worker bees, but we also raise the money to make the house happen.
Okay. During COVID, Casas de Luz had to stop going to Mexico for a while, and they creatively started building tiny homes in San Diego. And they're still doing that. So now, at this point, I think twice a month they're in Tijuana building homes, and twice a month they're in San Diego building tiny homes for the unhoused population. There's several places they're doing it. And so, and another thing I just want to say, if you're not open October 10 through 13, but you are interested, contact Casas de Luz and Kathy, go to their website, because they're always looking for people to fill in when they go down there. They can always take a couple extra people, but we hope you go with us. Thank you.
If you need more convincing, we also are available to come to your congregation and talk to your congregation. You're in Santa Monica? I know where Santa Monica is.
You're welcome.
Right. So we're also available. I know that Jan and Douglas, and I think Betty also, right? You were all together, did a presentation at SLO for the congregation, right? And to get that congregation on board with the process. And so part of it is book us for a Sunday, and we'll be able to do pulpit supply and give a sort of much smaller presentation about the whole process to your entire congregation, so that you don't have to convince anybody all by yourself. So don't make it harder on you, make it easier on us.
We'll go to Arizona.
We'll go to Arizona.
You know where Arizona is.
Yeah. I was just wondering who's from Arizona?
They're in our district, though.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know our district was that much bigger. They're in the PSW Assembly. All right. And with that, since there are no more questions, no more comments, everyone's all good. Everyone's got everything they need to go back to their congregation and be like, yes, please. Awesome. can extinguish our chalice now. Next slide. Our faith, like a light, illuminates the path before us so that we can face hurt with love, cultivate passion, live humbly in community, and comfort despair with the awe of life. Though our flame is extinguished, our faith shines bright before us. Thank you so much for your time.